Welcome to DataMin Training. This tutorial will teach you how to complete an override procedure. When do we complete an override procedure? This process is required if the customer's address is not mapping in the system as a deliverable address. What do we mean by that? When you enter a deliverable address in the TMS system, as over here, and you're seeing a street lookup appears, which is going to show at the bottom of your screen in white with possible addresses similar to the customer's. When that appears, it's possible two things, right? You, the service provider, may not have entered the address correctly, or the address is not in a deliverable area. Now we will follow the instructions over here to the left, which will teach you how to process depending on the situation. One process is from 4 to 11 if the address is matching. This means if the customer's address provided is matching to one of the addresses in the street lookup at the bottom. And 2, from 11 to 18, this means if the address provided by the customer is not matching to any of the address in the street lookup section. And we'll show you how to proceed with that. Also, there's many times when you attempt an override address, you may see a notification, street map override is not allowed for this store. This means you are not able to complete an order for the delivery location, all right, or to that particular delivery location, right? And we will show you how to process if that happens. Now let's try that in our system. We're going to be using the number 519-500-9973. You select enter on your keyboard and then select add new customer. Let's enter the customer's name as John Doe. We'll use the address 326 Grimes Avenue North and the zip code 55422. Once you enter an address, you always click on check address. Please ensure that you have selected the delivery occasion for this process. You may also need to advise the customer about contactless delivery, but we will show you how to do that in another tutorial. Let's continue. Let's go ahead and select a dwelling code as house. Now, as you can see at the bottom here, this is called the street lookup, as mentioned a few minutes ago, right? It's showing you a possible address similar to that of the customer's. Now, in order for you to know if you had entered the address correctly or it's just not a deliverable address, you would need to first verify the customer's address. How do we verify a customer's address? We must repeat all 4 parts of the address. That is the street, city, state, and zip code. Let's try that. We also need to do the street name in phonetics for override procedure. And phonetics means A for apple, B for boy, C for Charlie, and so on. Now let's go ahead and verify the customer's address. Now let me confirm if we have the correct address, John. I have 326 Grimes Avenue North. That is G for girl, R for Romeo, I for India, M for Mary, E for Echo, S for Sam Avenue North in Minneapolis, Minnesota 55422. Is that correct? If the customer says it's correct, you must advise the override policy. The override policy is setting expectation that even though we are trying to do an override procedure, it's a possibility that you may not receive the order. And here goes the override policy. I am not seeing where the address is mapping to a store, John. I will override the address for manager's approval, and if there's any issue, a manager will contact you, okay? Now, say for instance, the address is not correct. You would need to select cancel on your TMS system, re-enter the address, and remember to always verify before continuing. But in this example, we're going to say that the customer's address is correct. Since we have already advised the override policy, we're going to move to number 3. We need to check if the street name, city, state, and zip code is matching in the street lookup. So we would be looking for Grimes Avenue North, which is right here. We're also looking for Minneapolis, which is right here, Minnesota, and also the zip code is appearing. This means that the address is matching. But let's also look at the tips right here in blue. 1. If all four parts of the address is matching, then we skip to number 4 to 10. If one out of four parts of the address is not matching, then we need to skip to number 11 to 18. But in this case, as we have already seen, the address provided is matching to that in the street lookup. Now we will follow the process for number 4. Let's skip to number 5. We're going to select the address with the closest street range to that of the customer's street number. Since there's only one possible option, this means we have to select this address. So now that it's highlighted in navy blue, that means the address has been selected. We will skip to number 6 and select submit, then override address, then try to go to the greeting screen to proceed. If the street lookup appears again, you give it a few moments to disappear and try to go to the greeting screen again. If it's still popping up, then you repeat the process from number 5. Now let's try that in our system. We're going to select submit, override address, and try to go to our greeting screen to continue. Now we're at our greeting screen and the street lookup appears again. All right? But now it disappears, so we will try to go to the greeting screen again. And here we go again. It is appearing again. So now we need to start the process again from number 5 by selecting the address closest to the customer's street number and that of the street range in the street lookup. Select submit, select override again, and then try to go to the greeting screen. At the time of recording, the store is closed, so we'll click on OK to dismiss. Try to go to the greeting screen again to proceed. Now we're at the greeting screen and we're no longer seeing any pop-up, so this means we can continue to request the customer's order. And that is the process of completing an override procedure if the address matches in the system. Now we're going to proceed to show you how to process if the customer's address provided is not matching. Let's enter another address. This time we'll enter 4749 Arabi Church Road. And the zip code is 21704. Once you enter an address, you click on Check Address. And again, we're seeing the street lookup appears. This means we either did not enter the address correctly or it's just not a deliverable address. Let's follow the process to verify. Let me confirm that the address is correct. I have 4749 Arabi Church Road. That's A for Apple, R for Romeo, A for Apple, B for Boy, Y for Yankee, Church Road in Frederick, Maryland, 21704. If the customer says it's correct, then you proceed to advise the override policy. So, John, I'm actually not seeing where the address is mapping to a store, but I will override the address for manager's approval. And if there's any issue, a manager will contact you, okay? If, however, the customer says the address is incorrect, then you need to click cancel rather, re-enter the address, and ensure that you verify before continuing. But for this example, let's say the address is correct. Now we're going to proceed to number 3. We're going to check if the street name, city, state, and zip code matches in the street lookup right here. Now, remember, tip 2, if 1 out of 4 doesn't match, if one part out of 4 parts of the address isn't matching, then you skip to number 11. Let's try that. We're looking for Arabi Church Road. So let's start with the city. We're scrolling through and we found Arabi Court. But Arabi Court is completely different from Arabi Church Road. We're going to continue because it shows that we still have more possible addresses. And we're checking and we're still not seeing Araby Church Road. This means that 1 out of 4 is not matching, and now we need to skip to number 11. So let's go to number 11. Now we've already done this part and we see that it's not matching. Then we need to click on cancel at number 12, then override address. Then we're going to go to pick a store and choose a store with the closest or the same zip code to that of the customers. This means we need to make a note of what the zip code is before we go to the next section, which is 21704. Now let's go from number 12. We're selecting cancel, then override address. We're going to click on pick a store, and we are looking for the zip code 21704, which is the same zip code. But if we don't see the same zip code, we can use the closest zip code to the customers, and this would have been 21702. But because we are seeing 21704, we will use this one. We have selected the address as you can see highlighted in navy blue, and we're going to select at the bottom right hand corner of the screen, which will take us back to the greeting. Now again, this store is closed at the time of recording, so click on OK to exit. We're going to attempt to go to the greeting screen again. And as you can see, if it appears again, we just need to follow the process again by selecting cancel, then selecting override address and attempt to go to the greeting screen again. Let's do that. Select cancel, override address. We have already selected the store, so no need to click on pick a store. We're going to just try to go to the greeting screen to continue. Remember to always check your occasion type to ensure that the delivery is still selected, because at some point throughout your call, it may be removed. Contactless delivery. You may be required to request this information or offer this option, but we will teach you how to do so in another tutorial. Let's click continue. Now, we're going to try to go to the greeting screen again to continue. If you're no longer seeing the pop-up, this means that you may go ahead to request the customer's order. And this is the second step of how to complete an override procedure if the address provided is not matching in the street lookup, or most over, if the address provided is not a deliverable address.